Today we have the opportunity to talk with one of the previous presidents of the Florida Association of School Psychologists, Dr. Bob Templeton. Hello, Bob.
Hi, Denise.
Bob was actually our 50th FASP president. Could you tell us when you served in your official capacity as FASP president, Bob?
Sure. I was the years 2006 and 2007.
Okay, and it's now July 12th, 2018. We're actually in the middle of our Summer Institute at the PGA National Resort and Spa in Palm Beach Gardens. So we're a couple of years past the time when you were the FASP president. What are you up to now, Bob?
Yeah, we're definitely a couple of years past. I retired from the Palm Beach County School District in 2009. Took some time off, a couple of years, did the retirement thing. Found a little too boring for me, so I started doing some work, a little bit of private practice, but started working for some charter schools, doing testing and reevaluation. So it kind of took me back to the beginning of my career. As you may know, I was an administrator with the school district, so for a number of years, I really wasn't actively testing. So it was kind of fun to get back into that groove from long ago. And mostly seeing my kids. I'm fortunate to have all my kids and grandkids local and spend a lot of time with them. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Well, let's return to your time as FASP president. Tell us some of the major events or accomplishments that took place under your leadership.
To me, the greatest thing that I did was use the talent that was already on the board. Specifically, I, through the board, set up 4 task force. One was on response to intervention, and we were very fortunate to have Clark Dorman. Clark, as you may know, was at the time working for the state through the project at the University of South Florida. So none better to head that up. And if you go back in time, and you have to kind of go back to that year, 2006 and 7, we were just really getting our feet wet in RTI, and it was coming out of Tallahassee, and it was being promulgated around the state, and initially getting mixed reviews, and as anything would change, some resistance. So we were trying to get that out, and we thought that Clark would be the best person to help because he's a school psychologist and he knows RTI, and he can sell it because he knows it. So I had Clark doing that, and then the other was Dr. Phil Lazarus, was doing crisis intervention and prevention. As you may know, Dr. Lazarus was one of the founders of the NEAT, National Emergency Assistance Teams, has written chapters in our FASP books and NAS books, very well known in his field for that area. And he headed that up, and of course in Florida, we were having our share of crises. And remember, we were having a number of hurricanes around those times. And we were learning how hurricanes can impact us as a crisis. We were also having a number of school shootings, as unfortunately we know those continue on to the day. So we had Phil heading that up, and then we had Monica was working on multicultural issues. And that was a big, Monica Murray was very formidable in that area and was a natural leader for that. And she brought in speakers such as Sam Ortiz and Elaine Fletcher Jansen to do a lot of work with basically looking for the multicultural student in the RTI process as well as assessment. So that was very important to us, especially for Florida. And then we had Dr. Gene Cash headed up our legislative and public policy, and he worked on, of course, legislation, and we had 2 big initiatives going on that year. One was about reducing the bullying effect, so it was an anti-bullying campaign, and we also had one about suicide prevention. The bullying one apparently didn't make it to the Senate floor, but we had better news on the suicide prevention that did actually go all the way through to become a law, and they created the Florida statewide Suicide Prevention Center, of which FASP also had a vote on that. I think there were 28 members initially, and FASP was included in that. So I felt like with those four folks heading that really kind of set us, on a direction of what we were going to do that year.
Well, it sounds like you were able to avail yourself of the expertise of a lot of the resources that we had within the FASP organization, people that were excellent at what they were doing already.
There were some natural leaders. There were some people with natural pockets of knowledge. We had university professors. We had practitioners. Really a rich group to select from.
So tell us then what some of the challenges that you faced when you were the president. Anything in particular?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, like I said, I was working as an administrator, in Palm Beach County, supervising staff. And that part was the easy part. Most of these folks are self-directed. The hardest thing really wasn't FAST organization itself as much as it was getting our messages out to the districts. To me, that was very difficult, somewhat cumbersome. I like to use, at that time, the regional staff, the regional resources that we had, the reps we had in each of the southeast, northeast, and so on around the state, because I thought they would be natural conduits to carry the message back. They were known to their districts, and that was part of getting the messages that FAST, as with any statewide organization, is a bit distant and abstract to the local practitioner. Their preferences, the closer it is, the better it is. So it's trying to get our message closer to each of the districts.
I see. Okay, well, moving on to other types of influences, you alluded to hurricanes as being an environmental influence that impacted what you did during your presidency. Were there any other additional environmental influences or political influences or personal influences that impacted your tenure?
Well, I think in looking at the work through Gene and Bob and John Serra in Tallahassee, and following the issues and going up with the Seas group to tour the Florida Capitol and meet with some of the individuals. We actually met with the key senator who opposed the anti-bullying legislation. And we kind of literally got to meet with him in his office and make our pitch, if you will. And he was, very polite, but apparently subsequently did not see it our way. That, even though it didn't work out, it was really a very inspiring, almost kind of day that we spent touring the Capitol, and gives you an appreciation of just how difficult it is to get something from concept to implementations.
I see. Well, one of the final questions is, I'm wondering, what did being a FAST president mean to you personally?
Obviously, it was honor. Being elected by your constituents, your peers, is great. And if things didn't go well, you have Mary Alice to blame for that. She's the one that got me into this. But school psychology has really been my career. So from the time I graduated and all my degrees and time spent has been in school psychology. So to just have that opportunity and work with such talented people is really an honor, and to get out of your own little microcosm of workspace and to be able to see how other people practice school psychology and other thoughts that they have on it is always not only enlightening but empowering when you go back to your own district. So I felt very privileged. The tour to Washington D.C., going through the Capitol building up there and so on, participation with NASH at a higher level, all those things I felt elevated my understanding of school psychology.
Well, thank you, Bob. On a final note, I'd like to ask you if there's anything that you'd like to impart to us, any words of wisdom or any final thoughts of as a former FAST president.
There's really nothing inspirational other than just don't give up. Sometimes it can look bleak and it can look like it's not going your way, but it takes time sometimes to get these ideas through and to get other people educated to the degree to understand those ideas and what you're trying to do to help kids. So I think the more we can kind of just have patience, persevere, organize our talents, and work together, the better off we'll be.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bob Templeton, 50th President of the Florida Association of School Psychologists.
Thank you, Denise.